A very good afternoon to all of you present here, and a very welcome to all of you. Before we get started, I'd like to highlight the inclusion points that we are being mindful of today, because without those, this fest is not the Purple Fest itself. There is a ramp present on this right before the stage, and this is for ease of access to anybody who needs it. We also have accessible washrooms for those who need it, and this is present within the building and at GMC. A visual description of what is happening on stage will be being given. We have certified sign language interpreters on stage who will be interpreting for our deaf audience members. And if there's any deaf-blind audience members present, there are also tactile interpreters present. Before the discussion begins, I'd like to emphasize on using the person-first language, because this event is a human spirit. So therefore, let's follow the person-first language, which means that we're saying persons with disabilities as opposed to specially abled and differently abled. And one more inclusion point I'd say is just to ensure that everything that is being discussed is audible, requesting everyone to put your phone either on silent mode or at least vibrate mode. So we have today's Purple Think Tank is inclusion of employees with disabilities in PSO and government departments. Now inviting all of our panel members to the stage. Before we do that, we have our moderator for today's discussion, Mr. Shiv Kumar. Now inviting Mr. Vijay Dubey, who is the Executive Director at Punjab National Bank. Mr. A.K. Agarwal, who is the Assistant General Manager at Punjab National Bank. Mr. Vijay Kumar, who is the State Coordinator. Ms. Percy Cardozo, who is the Psychologist and Director Inclusion across Lifespan Sangam. And Mr. Prashant, who is the Faculty RPWD at Ansarat. Requesting all the panel members to please come to stage.
So I welcome all of you to the think tank discussion on inclusion of employees with disabilities in the public sector undertakings and government departments. So this whole day we are talking about the livelihood opportunities. Self-employment panel already happened. This is on government departments, and another thing coming on the companies. So here we have a representative from public sector undertaking representing government, and as well as representing SCPWD. Taha sir is about to join us, and Percy madam is also here. Talking about the panelists, Vijay sir, thank you for taking your time and joining us there with all your busy schedule. So sir is a great leader who has taken several initiatives under his tenure in various organizations like Vijaya Bank, Oriental Bank of Commerce, Punjab National Bank, etc. Our close association with sir tells that the key breaking points of inclusion, sir has a method to kind of bring it to happen. So under his tenure, there are great initiatives happened in Punjab National Bank. So we will start with a very short video on the various impacts, various aspects covered by Punjab National Bank. So we all would like to know that, no? So how several initiatives and under the tenure of SIR's, ED SIR's great initiative in several banks. So first we would like to know, sir, as a leader, and when it comes to the business, how were you able to kind of take that extraordinary initiatives in including and ensuring they are being dignified in public sector undertaking, especially in several banks?
Good morning. Good morning. First, on behalf of Punjab National Bank, let me congratulate Enable India and Government of Goa for this excellent 3 days Purple Fest that is being organized. And as Punjab National Bank, I can say we are proud, we are honored to be a part of the Purple Fest. My association, if I use that word, Dr. Ashwini Agarwal sitting right to me, we were colleagues sometimes in 2002 first time, and I saw the immense strength that Dr. Ashwini had in terms of overcoming the challenges, and that also enabled a new world for me in terms of what, when I am so-called abled, what I can take initiatives and help my colleagues, my fellow countrymen, persons with disabilities, so that their livelihood and their career path becomes much more easier. Given underlying factor always is the merit. So with that objective in mind, again, sometimes in 2010 or so, I was fortunate to come in touch with Enable India, and at that point of time I was with Vijaya Bank. We had organized certain programs with Enable India where my colleagues in Vijaya Bank who were persons with disabilities, some 4 or 5 channels we had organized, and I can say loudly that it was a spiritual journey for me also to see the various elements involved, the various nuances involved in terms of the different disabilities, and how Enable India is also very successfully trying to support my colleagues there in terms of the training program and training them in terms of overcoming the disabilities and living a life with lot of pride. Given this background, given the blessings Ishwar ki, when I was in a position where I could do something more, we have ensured that in Punjab National Bank, my current bank, we create an environment where each and every of my colleagues, we have more than nearly 4,000 colleagues, persons with disabilities, each one of them get a fair, equitable opportunity for growth, a fair, equitable opportunity for contributing to the bank's business. And when I am using the word underlying word, one of the important points is fair, equitable opportunity. A very important message which I like to give here is, at the end of the day, it is the individual who has to take care, who has to grab that opportunity and then succeed. That's what in PNB we are trying to do.
So let me recollect, Sir was telling about the few programs as initiated. So one of the things that we all will be wanting to know, that is a decision which has to be taken from a top, and Sir was sitting in that place, and what was that particular instance or particular motto which helped him to take that decision? Let us go forward and kind of conduct special programs. So we all know that government has provided the 4% reservation in our RPWD, but still there are a lot of hesitations or confusions in hiring person with disabilities. The first question will be, will they be productive enough? Right? So, and if we invest, how will we return on invest everywhere, right? So what is that? And from there, the decision, and Sir told that, and also we saw in that video that, okay, the decision taken was right, and it has proven that, yes, this model is something that we have to, because just by having 4% reservation in the policy, and after that including them takes lot of measures, right? So the similar way, I would like to know from our representative from Government of Karnataka, Mr. Vijay Kumar sir and Mr. Prashant. So Vijay sir, so what is your government, so how did you see that, if you speak about the government, including person with different disabilities, how you see that, okay, they are proactively, or they are able to become a productive member of your workforce?
I would like to speak in Kannada fluently. So far, I think Ashok Kumar translating. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಸಿ ವಿಜಯ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಿರುವಂತಹ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಅಬ್ದುಲ್ ನಜೀರ್ ಸಾಬ್ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಮೈಸೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಮಟ್ಟದ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ ಇಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಪಂಚಾಯತ್ ರಾಜ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ಚುನಾಯಿತ ಪ್ರತಿನಿಧಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಕೆಲಸ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಆ ಸ್ತರದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಯಾರು ವಿಶೇಷ ಚೇತನರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡುವ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾದ ನಿರ್ಧಾರ 2014ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಿದೆ.
Yeah. So Vijay sir, I will translate in English a little bit the important points. So sir first told that okay, he is happy to be part of this and opportunity given to explain about the Karnataka government's initiative on this. Sir is representing one of the apex training bodies, ANSSIRD. So ANSSIRD, Abdul Nasir Saab, State Institute for Rural Development. Okay. So sir tell that okay, in the year 2014 they were able to kind of organize a program for specially able. Sorry.
ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಏನು ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಕಚೇರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಜುವಲಿ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ವಿಜುವಲಿ ಏಬಲ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇದು ಏನು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಏಬಲ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಕಚೇರಿಗೆ ಹಾಜರಾಗುವಾಗ ವಿಳಂಬ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ ವಿಳಂಬ ಆಗುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಅವರ ಅರ್ಧದಿಂದ ಸ್ಯಾಲರಿ ಕಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, 8/2/2019 ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫೆಬ್ರವರಿ 2019 ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಟೈಮಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ಅವರು 1 ಗಂಟೆ ವಿಳಂಬವಾಗಿ ಕಾರಣಾಂತರದಿಂದ ವಿಳಂಬವಾಗಿ ಬಂದರೂ 1 ಗಂಟೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚುವರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಭರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
So sir is talking about the few initiatives. One of the initiative they have taken is that when person with disabilities, because of the logistical arrangements available in that particular different localities, there were some delay happening. So they had brought an little bit of time adjustment or possibilities for employees with disabilities. So Vijay sir, yeah. So regarding this, what are the other initiatives that government has taken? So we will come in the next round, sir. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So one of the few initiatives they have taken is everywhere we can see that okay, there is an extra bold initiative taken that especially with severely disability, that is person with vision impairment or person with total deafness, speech and hearing impairment we call. So when they have been inducted, the interaction with them becomes a challenge, and that is where the first thing, how to kind of include them. Okay, of course there is a notion here that is most of the problem or majority of the problem lies with the person with disabilities, right? Yes. So if we correct them, everything will go right. So we start with empowering skills or enabling skills of the person with disabilities first, and along with that we have to kind of go with the next one. So here in our panel we have Mr. Agarwal sir, Ashwini Kumar Agarwal sir, who has been in this sector for a very long time, more than 30-35 years. So let us hear from that. So we heard from Vijay Dubey sir and Vijay Kumar sir that the initiative from the public sector and from the government. Now let us hear that okay, how was the journey? So sir has honored as an assistant general manager, and there is a long journey to reach here. So sir, AK sir, how do you kind of tell that okay, now the inclusion, was it an easy journey or was there hurdles? Yes sir.
Thank you, Shiva. I'm also thankful to Enable India, Government of Goa for giving us this opportunity, and I congratulate for the wonderful effort that they have done. As far as my journey goes, I started way back in 1987, and I would like to draw a few things. The government has put reservation, so obviously it was my responsibility to prepare myself so that I pass the examination and become productive. So obviously, as an employee, what I found was I have to be proactive. First of all, I have to be aware what the options, what are the opportunities available. Available opportunities need to be studied. So that's what I did. And second thing which I found, what was very important with me is regarding beginning effectively. The moment I landed in Punjab National Bank in 87, so we have an induction training. So that is one very good thing that the government does to include people with visual impairment or people with other disability, is to have an induction training where they are empowered, they are told about the organization. In the induction training, I saw to it, I was looking for my opportunities. As a person with visual impairment, or we all persons who have with different limitations, so this is very important. They have to identify their strengths. So I looked at my strengths, what are my strengths, academically, communication skills and other things. So I thought of a plan how I can be optimally utilized and create a win-win situation. Third thing which is very important, which I felt, was communication skills. So public sector undertakings, communication is very important like any other organizations. And organization also gives lot of strengths to people to build themselves with their communication skills. So I took those opportunities whenever there was a training with respect to the communication skill, whether it is verbal, that means word-based, it could be oral or it could be written. Second thing was non-verbal, the body language, and attitudinal empowerment. So skill, attitudinal empowerment. So communication skills I found was very important. The moment I worked and saw to it that I am in a position to strengthen these communication skills, I was finding myself included into the organization very well. People received me very effectively. Fourth thing which I found very useful was the digital enabling. The moment the IT technology came into existence in 1990s, I empowered myself getting hold of the screen reading softwares, and simultaneously when the mobile technology came after say 2004 onwards, so we even work towards ensuring that I am in a position to access the mobile technology. So these two technologies have helped me a lot to take advantages which my organization provides. The organization provides the enabling technology to me. So when that technology is available, I also facilitated with the organization that I need these technology, carried the word up so that that was approved, the policy was framed, and that was provided. It's very important that we need to do. Fifth thing that very important I found was regarding emotional intelligence. So I really felt that public sector undertaking, they have lot of areas where emotional strength can be acquired. So I took through those things and empowered myself with the emotional intelligence, sought to watch my own emotions, watched my senior emotions, how the interactive aspects are taken care of. So when I thought how I can strengthen emotionally, I was included into the public sector undertaking very well. One thing very good which I found in public sector is that there are movements also, there are transfers also, there are opportunities also, and most of the government organizations are not small organizations, they are very large organizations, which gives additional advantage of making optimal utilization of the emotional intelligence. Another thing that I found very important was knowledge empowerment. So we have saw to it that our technology is enabled. So public sector undertakings, technology, circulars, reading the internal magazines of the bank, that was very important. So I saw to it that I read through magazines, I even write in those magazines. Lot of opportunities are available in the public sector undertakings, like my organization Punjab National Bank. It gave me lot of opportunity. So I utilized those opportunities and saw to it my aura increased, and people around me, they were aware, they were always encouraging me. I got encouragement with my officers like Dubey sir, and the whole gamut of strength that Punjab National Bank provides. Following me, lot of people have joined. I think, if I'm not wrong, among the public sector banks also, Punjab National Bank has always been very innovative. It has been a leader. Its inclusion is something which all the other banks follow. They are inquisitive, and the sort of promotional ladders that provide organization is wonderful. And it is because these opportunities are provided. These opportunities are only provided, as Dubey sir had very rightly said, one has to enhance the capabilities. If I have the capabilities, I sharpen my capabilities like a diamond is sharpened by sharpening it, then only my seniors can give me the opportunity, then only my colleagues can see to it. Another was leveraging of technology, where we saw whatever the technology is available, whether lifts are there, whether barrier-free environment can be created, whether the locomotor there is motorized things are there. So we have to see that we make use of the technology. If they say our forefathers were not that hardworking, they were equally hardworking as we are, but we enjoy much more than them, primarily because of technology. So that is very important, which I felt was that was there. And I was also very important is I took training with orientation and mobility. So organizations are always working to see that the disabled peoples are displaced to the various level. So if I empower myself to move, I took training in orientation and mobility, and I've seen my friends who are with locomotor impairment, they empower themselves with special vehicles. So they are in a position to move reasonably. The reasonable effort to move around will strengthen us to give more opportunities for us to grow. Negotiating skills is another area which is available in public sector undertakings, which help us to grow. So we have to see that we strengthen those negotiating skills. So I worked on that, how I can enhance my negotiating skills. Then these skills only help my seniors to guide me further, and their support was very important all through. And they could support only, as sir has already said, same has been the case, when I show something, I am ready to proactively work, then only they can encourage and strengthen. So these opportunities are available in public sector undertakings, and the opportunities for promotions, very important. I have to pass the exam, I have to prepare, I have to continuously, and I have to see to it we are being appraised every month, every quarter, and our quarterly appraisals are very important in our promotions. So we have to see that how these opportunities, opportunities that are available with the organization can be optimized when we continuously strengthen ourselves. So that's what Shiva is a small thing I just wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So elaborative. It was so elaborative, means I was able to kind of 3 to 4 points explained with. So it is good for all of us to kind of notice that there are things happening. Not only we are getting cornered, there are things happening around. So that is why Ekar was such a very long tenure in bank sector and reached to such a position. So that itself is a very good example, right? So along with sir, we have another young chap, who has started career a few years ago and also reached a position, sir, from the government. So we would like to, let us know from him also that how was sir's journey. Prashant sir? Yeah, that's it. So Prashant sir, from the time you joined to the government of Karnataka as an PDO, then, so how was your journey? So everybody would like to know that, and how did you reach the current position?
Sure.
Yes.
So first of all, namaste to all. So am I audible to everyone? Yeah, fine. Thank you very much. So at the first place, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Goa government and the Enable India and all the stakeholders who organized this wonderful program and meaningful program as well. So actually, I joined to the government service or government of Karnataka as a Panchayat Development Officer, or broadly speaking, Village Development Officer in other states as well. So in 2013 December, okay. So at that point of time, there was no exclusive or special training facilities or inclusive method of training in our department. I got general induction training program, which we call as Common Foundation course for 3 months. I mean, I got the training with non-disabled counterparts actually, but At that point of time, I raised my issues with SIRD, Abdul Nazir Saab State Institute for Rural Development, which is an apex body for capacity building for rural stakeholders, including Gram Panchayat officials and all the other officials and Gram Panchayat members and all the public representatives which are working in the rural sector. So, I raised the issue with the institution, and they, at that point of time, they were not very well aware of inclusive method of training or accessible method of training. So what they asked is, so what we can do immediately within our resources and within short span of time, you just tell us that, so we can try to accommodate those things. So what I said is, we were 9 people in the Karnataka state government in the first batch in the Panchayat Development Officer position. So what I said is, make the materials accessible fast. So already the institution is providing hard copy or manual documents to all the trainees. So make them accessible, provide those documents in Unicode or in audio format. So we can participate in the training program in pair with other trainees. So the institution acknowledged that, and they provided Unicode and audio format training materials for us. So we got through that, and I'm well trained in the training program. This is one part of the story. In 2014 May, in 2014 April, I joined to the Gram Panchayat called Agasaki in Belagavi district, Belagavi Taluka. So the thing is, you people might have heard many times that see so many visually impaired persons or a person with blindness are working as IAS officers at the top level, but working at the grassroots level, at the rural level as a development officer, which is the who is the important stakeholder for rural development, he's kind of I cannot tell all the experiences within short span of time, but I will just summarize the things to you. Actually, it's quite difficult. Not only difficult, it gives diversified experiences on everyday basis. Because we have to work with rural people who needs the development, and we have to work with public representatives like village panchayat members, MLAs, MPs, and other business stakeholders who are having vested interests. At the same time, the rural people are not having adequate knowledge or sufficient awareness about the disability. When I joined the Agaske Grama Panchayat in Belagavi district, people were saying that he cannot see what he can deliver. Some people approached our IR authorities like Chief Executive Officer of Jilla Panchayat Belagavi by seeking my transfer immediately after joining. She said that Mrs. Deepa Cholan was there, IAS. So what she said is, the government allotted him to your Gram Panchayat, so he has to work there only. If you face any difficulty in the future because of him in getting public services or public amenities, then we can think of it. Then she also directed me and guided me to work well, and at the same time she boosted my confidence as well there. At the same time, the SIRD institution officials and faculties, though also guided me, and they also inspired me to proceed further. So for first 3 months, the people were reluctant to accept me as a PDO of their Gram Panchayat. But after 3 months, the challenge for visually impaired persons is, always we should be one step ahead when you compare to other non-disabled employees. Whenever you are one step ahead with respect to other employees, then only the people of the community accept you. It is the truth which I realized in our Gram Panchayat limits, in our ground level functions actually. So I worked hard. How I worked hard? See, you people, all of you have heard about the national flagship programs like Narega, MGNREGA, or scheme at the ground level we call it as MGNREGS, that is scheme, and Swachh Bharat Mission. Then that was NBA, Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan, and other national flagship and state flagship programs were there. I showed interest. I noticed first, I observed the Gram Panchayat. I took visit of all the villages, 3 villages it was consist of. I visited all the Gram Panchayat villages and I took survey of that. And I realized that there were tribal people or belong to scheduled tribe which not had an employment opportunity for them. Winning the bread for their day-to-day life was very difficult. So I utilized Narega for that. Narega was zero then. Even though in Narega scheme started to implement in Karnataka state in 2008 itself, it was not getting implemented in that Gram Panchayat due to some hurdles and some local issues. I started to implement the Narega there, and I started to provide the employment for the people. And I observed, I surveyed and I analyzed the Gram Panchayat, what are the gaps it contains, what are the major issues the public are facing on their day-to-day life. So I list out them, then what I did is, I sit with experts and I sit with myself and I sit with government acts and relevant rules and scheme guidelines, and I found a way to resolve them first. So I set the priority and I started to address them on the priority basis. So people started to accept me. There was a major problem of employment which I addressed, which I tried to address. And at the same time, there was a problem for drinking water supply, because the groundwater was very, very, serious condition. It got depleted like anything. Even though you drill for around 1,000 feet of tube wells, people the Gram Panchayat was not at all getting the sufficient water yet. So what I started to do is I started promoting groundwater recharging programs under Narega. So initially people laughed at me actually, because so many at so many places these projects were tried, but there was no success. Once again you are trying to do the same, but you are wasting your resources and energy, everything. So but I was deaf to that kind of comments, and I took them as a challenge as well. I surveyed and discussed with my colleagues, cited colleagues, that why the recharge pits were getting failed. The thing is, the design is very much scientific, but at the time of implementing, they were failed. Because at the implementation stage, there are so many stakeholders. If any stakeholder didn't perform his work efficiently, the things get failed. So I talked with our engineer, local services, Narega engineer and other stakeholders to implement the project on a pilot basis and to set an example in an effective manner. So we started to construct water reservation or recharging pits, like for pupils, recharging pit or recharging structure, whatever we call. So after 2 years, it started to give the result. So people got accepted by ideas. So whenever your idea got accepted, so you also going to be accepted there. At the same time, one of the major problem at the grassroots level is rent-seeking mindset. For each and every activities, there is a red tapeism. There would be red tapeism and rent-seeking, other kind of things, which I started to address with the good governance mechanism. So I removed all the intermediaries, unofficial intermediaries between the Gram Panchayat and public. So people could contact me directly at any point of time in the day. I think whenever I was in field, at that time also people were approaching me. Whenever I was in office, that time also people were approaching. Whatever the busy schedule had, I used to get time for the people first. So people were my first priority. So people also accepted me as their first priority. So this is what about the Agaska experience. Then I got transfer once again.
Prashant sir, yes. Because of time also, so I'm just,
Shall I sum it up?
Yes.
So at the grassroots level, there are so many issues. as working as development officials or any other positions as such. But the only thing is, we have to prove ourselves first. Even though that is an extra burden on a person with disability or person with visual impairment, there is no other way apart from proving ourselves. When we prove that we are now in pair with other developmental officials, then only, or sometimes we have to prove that we are more ahead when compared to other officials, then only people used to accept us. So that was my development official role. Then now I am working as faculty in the same institution which given me a wonderful training, the Abdul Nazir Sub-State Institute of Rural Development. So now I am near to the state government entities. So what we are thinking now is, let us try to improve the awareness about the disability among all the public representatives, on all the rural development stakeholders like Gram Panchayat officials and all the public through various programs. So our future generation and the present generation who are working at the ground now, those people will get better environment. So I will add at the appropriate, add my ideas or opinion at the appropriate time. Thank you for providing the opportunity.
Thank you. So passionately, person with disabilities or employee with disability were talking, they spoke, Sir, Agarwal sir and Prashant sir. So you can see that, okay, there's a lot of energy inside them to prove that nothing is impossible. I am possible, right? Whether it is taking a small step towards adapting to the changing environment or following up with the existing policies, but always there is a quest or there is a push to prove themselves, which is considered as a first step towards inclusion. Now, there are three different aspects, hidden inside their explanation in details. Both of them are considered as one of the severe disability, that is person with vision impairment. And in that case, you all can imagine that many things are not accessible for them. Signboards, name of the thing, in every office, whether it is government office or public sector undertaking, everything needs sight. That is not accessible. So policy helps them to kind of get into the job or get into the office, but after that things were not very easy. But I am so happy that even if you give mic for hours together, they will be having lot of success stories to share. So the proven model, that is when the right opportunity, I quoted like policy level 1, and the equal opportunity, that is opportunity to learn what is there in the way they can adopt also, and the way prove themselves so that the public will accept, because whether it is PSU or whether it is government department, we are working with public. So unless and until public accept our service, there is no inclusion. Inclusion cannot happen, only by policy, right? So here all their services, adapting to it in the back end, that is happening. They are ensuring that this service is not getting interrupted. The service which public is accepting from them, that is being provided. Okay. So now, after seeing the success, there is lot many hidden things. I will try to summarize it towards the end. But let us see that what our policy is talking about inclusion of inclusion of person with disabilities. So RPWD and employment. Let us have a quick look. So Prashant sir and Taha sir. So for both of your convenience, there are 2-3 slides about the RPWD. I request Shruti to read those slides for. So let us see that what the RPWD provisions to ensure that the person with disabilities are inducted and included into various services of public sector undertakings and various departments of state and central government. Yes, sir, Shruti.
Now I'll be reading what is presented on this slide in front of you. What the RPWD Act 2016 says with respect to employment. Persons with disability should not be discriminated against on the ground of disability. Reasonable accommodation and an appropriate barrier-free and conducive environment should be provided to employees with disability. No government established should dispense with or reduce in rank an employee who acquires a disability during his or her service. Every establishment should frame an equal opportunity policy and register a copy of that policy with the chief or state commissioner. Every establishment should maintain records of persons with disability. No person should be denied to a person. No promotion should be denied to a person merely on the grounds of disability. The government should frame policies for posting and transferring of employees with disability. Every government establishment should appoint a grievance redressal officer. Initiatives taken by the Karnataka government for the inclusion of employees with disability. Flexible timings facility for government employees. I went too far. Alright.
Yeah, thank you, Shruti. So, we saw the success of inclusion, how powerful it is when we are able to kind of remove the barriers or normalize the disability. Now, we want to know that, okay, what is the first level? How did they got a chance to kind of get into the system? So, following the 1995 Equal Opportunity Act, now we have Rights of Person with Disability Act. In that, the employment section, that is what we just heard, okay, which talks about 4% reservation. Earlier it was 3% reservation. Now it is 4% reservation, and the various disabilities brought under the reservation has increased from 7 to 14, and including the multiple disability, it is 15 now. Right? Earlier it was 7, only vision impairment, speech and hearing impairment, and physical disabilities, and very few number of physical disabilities was under the orthopedically challenged category, OC category. But now it is 14 disabilities, and the 15th category is multiple disability has been included. In the 4th percentage of reservation, which disability is included? Just quick one from the audience. Which all disabilities or which category of disabilities are there under the 4% reservation? Yeah, but the category names are right. Intellectual disabilities. So, we can be proud that, okay, our government has making the changes to make sure that, okay, unattended or ignored communities are also brought into it. So with the latest RPWD, we have 4% of reservation for persons with disabilities in employment. Now the other things, can you just go back to this? Yes. And there are very interesting catch in that, So the new law says that, okay, there should not be any discrimination. You cannot, deny employment opportunity in the basis of disability, and reasonable accommodation should be provided, all these things. So, Taha sir, hello? Yes. So sir, what are the kind of, so under the SEPWD being secretary, so what are the initiatives taken to adhere to these few things of this RPWD, few initiatives, if you can just tell us the policy level implementation thing, few things, 2 or 3 things, if you can help narrate that.
First of all, everybody, welcome to the think tank session, Purple Fest Goa. I'm Taha, Secretary Commission Disabilities. Shiv Kumar, really thank you. Shiv Kumar was behind me, yaar kuch bhi karke, you have to be here. I just ran from the Para TT, I'm just coming here. Sorry, I was late for that. In terms of the policy decisions from the state government, if I could say, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act has offered a huge spread for persons with disabilities. It has jumped to, just saying you should be rehabilitated. In the earlier one, we say now should be empowered. The persons with disabilities should be empowered, as it is a right of theirs to be empowered. In terms of policies, as Shiv rightly says, there are 4% reservations for persons with disabilities. But just to tell you, I know some instances, many of the states have notified 4% reservations. But I know some states who are following 6 and 7% reservation also for persons with disabilities. That is Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Major thing here is the roster, the 100-point roster, what we say, or else it is also called as a person with disability roster. Whether that roster is properly maintained with the department. Now, if a department has to maintain rosters, there are two main rosters which has to be maintained. One is a roster which includes the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes, which is post-wise. For example, LDC will have the reservations, UDC will have the reservations, you'll have reservations for the director level, you'll have reservations for all the posts you have. Another part of the post roster is the group-based reservation. The group-based reservation is for persons with disabilities. That is Group C. I am not saying D because now D is not there. So Group C or the MTS category will have 4%. B, you have 4%. B gazetted, you have 4%, and A gazetted, you have 4%. When we talk about various things, now there was a huge fight, many people would be knowing that the 2018 circular of the Department of Personnel and Training, which said about reservations of persons with disabilities, talked only about direct recruitment. But recently, the Supreme Court has made it extremely clear that the recruitment of any mode, that is any mode recruitment, it may be direct, it may be promotion, has to have a reservation for persons with disabilities. So the promotion for persons with disabilities is from C to B, B to B gazetted, and B gazetted to first level of A gazetted. So within the A gazetted, you don't have the reservations in regards to the persons with disabilities. Other than that, if I talk about policies like rightly read out before, concept of the grievance redressal officer, it's a wonderful concept. And here in Goa, I am really proud to say that we have got more than, out of maybe 120 departments, we have got more than 110 departments who have already employed the GROs with proper registers here, properly maintained. The training was given by our commission, state commission itself, and things are somewhere falling in place. When I talk about the awareness, as rightly all the panelists have said, matter of acceptance. When I also joined the civil services here, we all know there's a matter of acceptance. How will you work? What will we do? Currently, I'm at the level of the director and the joint secretaries, Government of Goa. But here, we know that when we are able to cater, we are able to deliver what is required. I don't think so it should be a problem. Number two, very important is in terms of the policies, if I just again mention, the option of taking the assistive technology again becomes very important. Many people don't know. The reasonable accommodation comes here. You should have a dignified place. It is not you're just filling up the reservations, you're sitting here. Aapko kaam mile, nahi mile, kya farak pad raha hai? You're getting the salary? No. Because if that is the notion, you're only filling up the reservations, you're not giving a proper contribution in giving the dignity to the group of persons with disabilities. You have to deliver for what you're here. I'm giving you a recent example right from the policies and everything. Now this in the old GMC building, I'm talking about the Purple Fest here, ground floor. There's a wonderful awareness program going on named Antarchakshu. Does anybody know about that? In the audience? Yes. Anybody visited? Okay. Lovely. So, kind of response what I'm getting from there is because There are people from our civil services who's participating there. People from police who are participating, bankers who are participating. There would be people from the education sector who will be participating. Everybody is actually coming and telling us that up till now we were thinking, okay, persons with disabilities, what could they do? No idea. Lekin the kind of simulation which has been explained there is somewhere trying to make change. For us, statutes are available, policies are available, everything is there. Lekin till the time it does not reach, or till the time it is not implemented properly, not only by the government, but by a person with disability also, then only it becomes successful. A person with disability cannot say always, there's no reservation, I'm not getting job. Are you competent to get it? Have you got that qualification? If yes, please come ahead, it is done. The same way from the government side, many of the people have the notion a person with disability. Shiv rightly said, intellectual disability. People have here intellectual disability, kya karenge? No. We should understand they could do wonders. Persons with intellectual disabilities, persons with autism, persons with multiple disabilities. We say blindness is just one sense. Multiple disabilities is probably more than 2, 3. But still, we all know there are many people who have done fantastic in their lives. So we need to understand here that the policies are absolutely there. Reasonable accommodation is there, the grievance redressal officers are there, the reservations is there, everything is there. Very important one again is the equal opportunity policy which we have read again. It's a wonderful thing. The equal opportunity policy spreads out the dignity, spreads out the inclusion not only for persons with disabilities but just everybody in that particular organization, irrespective it is government or non-government. I will continue. If Subhashif, you have anything, I can pitch in because
yes.
We should not run out of time.
Yeah. Thank you. So, thank you, Taha sir. So, we can see that how important it is to have proper guideline policy and guidelines for the successful inclusion of any implementation and inclusion. So here you can see that based on the requirement, the policy, there are certain amendments need to be done to the policy, or new policy has to be initiated so that the missing gaps can be filled. So of course, for the inclusion, especially for the employees, for the person with disabilities, the first thing matters a lot is timely policy change, getting the policy built. Okay, and that is where, so we would also just touch upon one thing that is much awaited one, is that here we could see that all the other disabilities, whether it is vision impairment, speech and hearing impairment, or even physical disabilities, that inclusion has taken to a great extent. Now I would like to know about kind of how is it? Is the status seem good, or what is the current condition of the recruitment of 4th percentage, that is person with intellectual disability, how they are getting included? So Percy ma'am from organization Sankar, who has worked extensively with person with intellectual disabilities at various capacities, building their. So what is ma'am's observation or perception about how well? So ma'am, do you feel that they are really getting into the system even after the 4th percent reservation?
A very good afternoon to all of you.
Yeah, I'm back. You comfort,
So, very good afternoon to all of you. I had a presentation. Please excuse me, it's somewhere floating in the cyberspace. I suppose it did not reach Shiva sir. So, I will try and wreck my brain and present before you whatever I had tried to put in the presentation. So, primarily, I come from an organization, a mental health organization, Sangat, which is headquartered in Goa, and we have hub offices in Delhi, Bhopal and Pune. And our work, it was heartening to see my fellow panelists presenting a very nice, lovely picture of empowerment and how persons with disabilities have been able to excel in work spaces. I am here as a member of an organization that represents people. Can you hear me? Yeah. I'm here to represent people with intellectual disabilities, and as per the RPWD Act, we talk about intellectual disability as in the global delays, as well as autism, which is put under intellectual disability, and specific learning disability. So this is kind of covered under intellectual disabilities as far as the reservation is concerned. So you have seen the RPWD Act, certain clauses of the Act presented already, and I'm representing the organizations who I was working with people with intellectual disabilities. Also, I'm in the capacity of an employer, as my organization employed. We had 3 people who were working with us with intellectual disabilities, and it's a huge challenge to, first of all, get people employed, and secondly, to retain them. There are huge challenges for organizations as employers, and especially for organizations like us, there are challenges to retain them in terms of funding and things like that. And one of the things that we were looking in the morning panel when we were talking about self-employment, the panelists presented at the start presented a grim picture of employment status in our country for the general population, and when you look at people with disabilities, I'm sure it is still grimmer. And for people who I represent, people with intellectual disabilities, it is I'm sure very, very bleak, because our people do not have the so-called visible abilities to settle down into the workforce as easily as it is expected of them. And I'm hoping that employers, representatives of employers are sitting in this audience, and government departments, of course some people would be there, but it shouldn't be there. And I talked to the converted already. So basically what I'm trying to present before people who are employing people with disabilities, especially intellectual disabilities, is there's a lot of change that needs to come in. And when we want to make that 1% for intellectual disability a reality, first I think what needs to change is the recruitment process itself. And if you look at government's role in facilitating employment.
Yes, we will come to it.
Yes.
So, yes. So ma'am has clearly told that, okay, the inclusion, first itself the induction of the disability category under the 4%, it is not going well. So as an initiative, even though we have brought it under the policy level, there is a lot to be done to make sure that, okay, the policy is getting implemented, and with a kind of a successful inclusion happens. Now we will see that, okay, few initiatives. So I just stopped. Vijay sir telling, Vijay Kumar sir from the study. So I was talking about the few initiatives taken by the state government by understanding the various needs. This may not be written in the RPWD Act, but following, because ultimately we all are human beings, we all have different needs, and person with disabilities, challenges or their abilities or potential are different. Once we tune into get their best abilities, things will go in the best possible way. So we have the few initiatives of state government of Karnataka. So Vijay Kumar sir, we will present the slide and read it. And if anything you want to add, I just yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Initiative taken by the Karnataka government for the inclusion of employees with disability. Already I told flexi timing facility for government employees with disability in our state. Provision for the assistive devices. The state government in its order dated 7/9/22 to facilitate employees with a disability work more effectively at workplace, all the officers are allowed to procure and provide electronic assistive device from the office expenses. Employees with disability are also provisioned to get the interest-free advance from their concerned department up to 25,000 to buy electronic assistive device personally. Then conveyance allowance are also provided to ease the burden of traveling expenditure of employees with the benchmark disability. The state government in its order 17th of January 2019 provided 6% their basic pay as conveyance allowances are provided. Then a reservation in direct recruitment, already told, as mandated in the RPWD Act, the state government provided a 4% and 5% reservation for person with a benchmark disability in A and B and the C and D post respectively. This is Karnataka government taken main initiatives.
Thank you, sir. So we can see that how it is important to kind of customize the requirement, understanding the requirement of person with disabilities, how important it is to customize your system. So one side, the policy change that will guide us what to do, but at the same time, in the ground level, to take the inclusion to the next level, we have to understand the audience and make the necessary things. Because we are in a system which has been established long back and considering only the people with no disabilities. And we are trying to forcefully include, So there are several examples that we can think of what can happen if you try to kind of, forcefully include. So the inclusion is not always, which has to be corrected from the person with disability side. It can start from the policy. It has to start from making the changes in the system, whether it is, So all three of them has told that, okay, there have been one of the policy by the government, which is following the guideline of RPWD, is that providing the extra budget for purchasing things for the requirement of person with disabilities. The requirements are vivid. It's different. You need separate fund. You can't think about the old budget that is located, because this is nowhere listed under the requirement earlier, right? So there should be a separate budget. So like that policy level, after that systematic changes need to be brought to kind of include it. So along with this, now also told that, okay, as I was telling that, okay, there are hidden things when they explained it. You all saw that there was a system already existing for the capacity building or orienting employees to when they are included or when they are inducted into the system. From there the inclusion has to start, because that particular model has been meant for person without disabilities. So any kind of capacity building, so two things it will get branches to two. One is that, okay, it will be really appreciated by the people or by the organization that if the person with disability come with the disability specific skills, that means person who knows sign language, knows about ISL for the deaf people, for visually impaired person, no, person with disability, I'll tell you. First, the employee itself. So now, a simple example I can tell you here is, we are providing the interpretation service. Now, if the other end, if there is a deaf person sitting and if the person do not know the sign language, even though the company is ready to provide, the person is not able to receive. So initially, when Vijay Dubey sir told about the board initiative, that there was a gap between the expectation versus the delivery, So sir realized that, okay, we have to take that extra mile, or we have to take that bold initiative to make sure that, okay, first let us fill this gap, because this particular disability specific skill requirement nowhere listed in RPWD or nowhere available in the Indian context. You have to have a customized requirement. So it all starts with understanding so there are clear, even though there are various guidelines or various, because of the changes in the work environment, the need, the skill, the knowledge or the skill or the attitude requirement changes time to time. So there is a requirement to have a customized capacity building for person with disabilities, and that too disability specific. And when Sir spoke about, Sir's initiative on 2014, that was that. So nowhere earlier it tells that, okay, you have to include, okay, I have taken as a leader, as an higher officer, you can tell that, okay, I have taken them. Now why are this person not working? Understand the problem, no? So the problem is that, okay, there is a level gap. We are providing, okay, take thing, but that taking is not, the other person receiving, that is not accessible for them. So there is a need to kind of change and customize the training, all kind of training. So training for visually impaired has to be separate, training for deaf people has to be separate, training for intellectual disability has to be separate. So, sure. Yes.
I would like to share one very good initiative that Dubey sir has taken, and it's a wonderful example. Once he just called me and he said, Ashwini, मैं एक्चुअली सोच रहा हूँ कि जो हमारा क्रेडिट मॉनिटरिंग है, क्योंकि आज की डेट में बैंकिंग के अंदर क्रेडिट मॉनिटरिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. अगर आप क्रेडिट नहीं मॉनिटरिंग कर सकते तो आप अपने असेट, क्योंकि बैंक्स के लिए क्रेडिट इज द असेट, एंड मैं तो वैसे चाहूंगा कि सर ही बताए कि क्या हुआ था दिमाग में और कैसे सर आपने ये प्रोजेक्ट किया था, बिकॉज दैट्स अ वंडरफुल एग्जांपल जिससे आपको समझ में आएगा कि एग्जैक्टली व्हाट हैपेंड एंड हाउ पीएनबी डिड दिस इनोवेटिव व्हिच अदर बैंक्स हैव स्टार्टेड फॉलोइंग.
Should I?
Yes, sir. That case is a very, very powerful, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So just 3-4 quick points, including the point that Dr. Ashwini has told. One is, let me very emphatically say that Punjab National Bank is committed to the Sugam Bharat Abhiyan. At all points of time, all our initiatives are in terms of enabling and empowering our colleagues with disabilities so that they are able to utilize their potential, contribute to the organizational development and also to their career development. So essentially, whether it talks in terms of screen reading softwares, making reading materials available in a manner that they can be understood, the circulars, the training materials, we have a doorstep banking concept which enables persons with disabilities to call a particular number line and the service is delivered at their particular doorstep. I'll come back to the specific point of Dr. Ashwini, but just let me broad base the other aspects also. And when we are listening to other colleagues and their individual success stories, let me share here again in Punjab National Bank. We are giving, as I was saying in the beginning, fair and equitable opportunities for people to show their potential, raise and live up to their potential in terms of their postings also and automatically in terms of their promotions. So when I say this, I'm sure many of you would be aware that the branch head, a person leading the branch head position is a very, very challenging position. And a person with disabilities definitely faces that extra challenge, as one of the panelists was also talking in terms of you have to be better than the best. But we have shown confidence, we have shown confidence in our colleagues, and I have within my bank around 128 branches which are headed by persons with disabilities, and they are doing a great job. And when I say this 128, as you must be aware, the branches again are on different levels in terms of the business. So when I say 128, even to the topmost branches, which are the largest branches in terms of business and staff, we have even those branches headed by persons with disabilities. And not only that, I have 4 of my colleagues who are amongst the topmost ranks in the bank. And one of the colleagues is actually heading a circle. So when I say the branch head means heading one branch. But when I say a circle head, I am talking of a person who is heading approximately anywhere around 80 branches. So the nearly 80 branches are reporting to that circle head, and I have one DGM who is actually heading a circle. So the point is, there is potential, and then as Shiva was also pointing out, It is you as an individual to identify and make the best, and then compete, and then enough opportunities are there, enough good people are there who will recognize your merit and give you further opportunities and promotions. So that brings me to this point that Dr. Ashwini was wanting me to talk about, is primary business of a bank is to give loans. And when we give loans, there is always a small percentage of loans which we find difficult to recover. Maybe many times for genuine reason of the borrowers, which requires an element of follow-up. So we identified a group of 160 persons with disabilities in our bank, and then we developed a special software for them so that they are able to follow up with the customers whom we call as delinquent customers for recovery, for ensuring that wherever there is a delay in payment, they are paying back. The special software enables the persons. So if you go in the nitty-gritties, what would be the mobile number? So when somebody talks, there should be an auto dialing facility. When you talk, the other person at the other end may not pick up, so you would need a repeated dialing. After repeated dialing, also suppose he calls and you are able to talk, then the person promises, okay, for some reason I was not able to come, I'll come after 3 days and pay. So that becomes a promise to pay, which needs to be recorded, and after 3rd day, again needs to be followed up. So it's quite a comprehensive granular software which we developed specifically for our persons with disabilities. We gave them specific training, and this experiment is now more than 1 year old in Punjab National Bank. We actually started in June 21, so 1.5 years now, and I can very proudly say it has been a very, very successful experiment. On an average, my 160 colleagues, persons with disabilities, on an average per day, they are talking to 10,000 customers. So you can see the quantum of contribution they are doing towards the bank. And when I am using the word as an employer, as a senior officer of the bank, I am also conveying to you the quantum of self-respect, pride that they are developing among themselves, and not only as an individual among themselves. I am more concerned, if I use the word, or rather I am more excited in terms of the positiveness that my colleagues, persons with disabilities, and the respect that they are generating for the from amongst the so-called abled staff members. Sure, just if you permit 2 minutes more, just 1 or 2 points more I like to share, because here whatever we have been discussing is primarily from the employee perspective or employment perspective. But as a bank, public sector bank, I am more into public facing discussions. I am more into the need of my customers. And just as I have X percentage of staff with disabilities, the point is I have a much larger percentage of staff with much larger percentage of customers who have different disabilities. And I as a banker need to provide them services for enabling them to do their banking needs. And in that process, our internet website is user friendly. Our PNB One app that we call mobile banking app is designed in a manner that persons with disabilities are able to function. We in our here Purple Fest also, we have put a talking ATM in our stall. I would strongly urge all my colleagues who have come here, all my citizens, my fellow citizens, to go and utilize that talking ATM. It helps you in terms of your basic need of taking cash. Last point which I would like to make is, we always talk of persons with disabilities. I strongly believe, for myself, for example, and people like me, that we are not abled people, we are so-called abled people. One of my panelists used the word not otherwise disabled. I would rather use the word so-called abled, because it's a matter of a second, it's a matter of a small accident, and you suddenly from a able, so-called able category, you become a person with disability. So that's a part of sensitivity and sensitization that each one of us who is so-called able should have. And a small example I can quote for us to understand the difficulties and the challenges. If you are so-called able, while you are taking bath, close your eyes, let the soap slip from your hands, and matter of 10 seconds, you will not be able to really find that, and you'll start panicking. That is a part of sensitivity and sensitization that we so-called people should have. And the moment we develop that sensitivity, I am sure all of us will be equally committed in terms of making accessibility more conveniences for our colleagues, for our citizens with disabilities. As I said in the beginning, Punjab National Bank is committed towards the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. We will remain committed and will continue to ensure that all my colleagues and customers benefit from this. Thank you.
Yes, my friends. Thank you, sir. So it's always we learn from case studies, obviously, right? So when the impactful case studies are being presented to us, we will be able to study it in depth to understand what are the things which help to succeed and what are the factors which will. So now, considering that, okay, we have very less time also, it's a high time for us to understand that we were able to achieve a great level of inclusion for disabilities falling under all the first three categories: percentage, first percentage, second percentage, and the third percentage. But we are in, very, very in a nation stage when we talk about person with intellectual disability. Okay, so even the input what our madam going to give from their vast experience in this sector, okay, is very important or will play a key role in understanding that, okay, how we can make the utilization of the 4th reservation. And then I also want the same question to others also will be like, what are your suggestions to increase? But hence I have to kind of, we all have to kind of listen to know that, okay, the 4th is in a niche stage. I'll start with ma'am, Percy ma'am, who can explain that, okay, what are the challenges that you are facing in terms of, recruiting the people, the disability falling under the 4th and what are your recommendations which can help this particular quota system or the 4th will get filled or can get filled. It can be an input for the people, sir, the leaders are sitting here, so that when they are making policy or systematic changes. To you, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So I'll continue sitting here because I just got my laptops and read from the laptop the presentation. So as I was saying, it is a huge challenge for families of people with disabilities to go and find employment for their young people, and it is a challenge for the employers as well to access or to identify and to get people with intellectual disabilities into the mainstream workforce. And I will just very, very briefly highlight the challenges. One is, first important challenge would be lack of adequate education, mainstream education, and skill training. That is something that's not uniform across the country. In some pockets of the country, there is excellent work going on in empowering, building capacity, but that has to be unified and that needs to be, ramped up very, very quickly, because the RPWD Act got notified, in 2016, and before that we have the CRPD, which came in 15 years ago, and still we are, kind of our efforts towards getting our people with intellectual disabilities in the mainstream workforce hasn't kind of, kept up speed. And it is very important, because if we are talking about equal opportunities, if we are talking about equal rights, people who are the most vulnerable group amongst all the groups have to be at the forefront there. They have to be included. So one is lack of adequate training, and basically technological advancement, the changes that are taking place so rapidly Sir A.K. Sir here has very nicely, I was listening to him with, great attention about his, the way he empowered himself. But our people who have intellectual disabilities are not able to access all of this technology at the speed at which people otherwise can access. So that needs to be considered when we are looking at employment opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. Nature of workspaces, sometimes employers are not really ready with adequate knowledge about people who will come into their workforce with intellectual disabilities, and something like this Purple Fest, I congratulate the Goa government for organizing something like this, because that's a step towards creating this large scale awareness. So basically employers need to be aware of the nature of workforce that is likely to come in, and they have to be ready. And I say, when employers, it is the HR managers of in establishments, every institution, organization, who have to be trained, and one-off training is not really going to be useful, because there has to be a follow-up so that people are aware of the challenges and they are empowered. They are empowered with information and knowledge and skills to get people, settle well in the work environment. And often, the attitudes of co-workers, attitudes of colleagues is, kind of not really conducive to get people settled well in the workforce. And when I say attitude, I'm not criticizing, but because generally the workforce is not aware. So the awareness programs have to be at institutional level. And when I say institutional level, this is something that the government needs to take up on a massive, large scale, programs like this to create awareness. And I'll tell you, from including people with disabilities in our organization, even an organization like Sangat was not ready with everything that came, as a challenge, because often there are certain behavioral challenges that are associated, and people are lost as to what can be done. And I have seen people, because we've been working for the last 25 years with people with intellectual disabilities. So now the people who I had seen as babies are now young men, young men and young women, and I have seen many of them being, absorbed in mainstream workforce. Some of them have been thrown out because of behavioral issues. So this is something that companies and institutions have to consider when employing, because there's a commitment that this person is going to be there for whatever working life that he has, and every effort has to be made to ensure that he remains there unless he decides to move on, he or she decides to move on for better prospects. Often I think overprotection by families also kind of can be a hurdle to employment of people with intellectual disabilities in the workforce. So in such cases, I think it's of course organizations like us have a big role to play to create awareness, but also it's I feel the responsibility of the government to take up awareness campaigns in collaboration with organizations that are working to create awareness about this. And what I also lack of adequate information for disabled people, for youth who have disabilities, about employment opportunities. So big awareness drive, job fairs are very important. Something like this on a bigger scale, and getting actual people, maybe working with organizations in collaboration with organizations that train people, skill building of young people with disabilities. So people can be included in that manner. And this is something that is my observation and maybe anecdotal kind of information that I got. Sometimes the social service, social protection systems that we have in place for the welfare of people with disabilities can act as deterrents. that may not be applied across, but I have seen many people who think, okay, I'm getting this pension or whatever, so I don't need to work. So in that sense, something needs to be looked at in that area as well. I'm not saying stop that, but consider, government may want to consider look at that and see, review such policies existing. And so another suggestion that I would want to give is, so there is a central government notification already in place where jobs for categories have been identified. There are 3,566 posts reserved for persons with benchmark disabilities in groups, categories A, B, C, D, under different departments of the central services. Likewise, and the extraordinary gazette dated 4th January, right? Thanks, Saha. 4th January describes all of that, and there are a lot. So it's an exhaustive document. It has got more than 2,000-3,000 pages, and almost 1,000 or more than 1,000 pages just describe the jobs. So it is important that it outlines the post, the designation, the functional requirements, suitable category of benchmark disability for that. It describes outlines the nature of work and working conditions. So it's not like, meaning it's not like I wouldn't say it's a binding document, but it is a document for like a recommendation which states can adopt and try and adapt it to their needs. And it also defines TOR. So it also says that other disabilities can also be, other posts can be included in that. Terms of reference. So it very briefly describes the terms of reference, what is what, and everything related to particular disabilities, and it also provides a broad kind of leeway for other posts to be included in the document. So that is something that organizations like us may want to go and check back. Companies may want to go and check back. Another, one important thing that I wanted to highlight is, basically the Act provides, Section 20 provides reasonable accommodation for appropriate barrier-free and conducive environment to employees with disability. Now, if you take this section and apply it to the recruitment process for people with intellectual disabilities, I believe has to be adapted. The typical paper pencil test which brains that work quickly and hence that work quickly can do, our people will not be able to all the time get through that, and it's not like they do not have the ability, it's just that they don't have those abilities that are tested through a paper pencil test. So that needs to be considered, adapting that. And another one is adaptation, and there is a section 35 talks about incentives for employers in private sector to ensure that at least 5% of their workforce is composed of persons with benchmark disabilities. Now, I am not sure if this information is very widely spread across employers. At least my organization is not aware of what are these incentives. So it would be nice if government or bodies can kind of create awareness about the kind of incentives that organizations can avail or can get, because that is motivating for people to employ people with disabilities. Now, for an organization like us, we don't need incentives as such, because we know this is our work and we have to walk the talk. But there are employers who just don't work into this kind of field. So, and incentives would be a motivating force for them to employ people with benchmark disabilities. And I'll tell you, our experience with employing people with intellectual disabilities has been extremely good. There are people there are so many strengths that people with intellectual disabilities bring in, that we many times do not consider that, because for us it's like fast working brains and quick brains are efficient, but we have people, the people who are with us, of course there are behavioral challenges, but they work in terms of work, there are a lot of strengths that they bring in. And I am hoping that something towards this will be kind of looked at when we consider policies for people with intellectual disabilities, to make 4% and that 1% a reality for our country.
Thank you so much, ma'am, because the challenges of the fourth category, that means disabilities under the fourth category, is not been recognized. We are trying to again push. Okay, first percentage work, second percentage work, third percentage work. Okay, let us have the same pattern to the fourth percentage. It was really so. I hope that sir, here those who are decision makers in this group, observing and noticing this particular point, that he cannot go with the same recruitment pattern or the assessment pattern for intellectual disability. It has to be changed. It worked with the first person, second person, third person, but not for the fourth person. So, thank you, ma'am, for bringing this to our notice, that the effort has to be in a different way. Okay, so customization we have told, but from the recruitment itself, we need to start customizing so that we include our sisters and brothers into the workforce and dignified, with dignity and as well as with all respect. Okay, so policy implementation, sometimes we will get stuck, but along with that policy implementation, we might have to kind of make necessary changes so that they are also getting included. I know that we are running out of time, so I request my panelists, can we spend another 5 to 7 minutes to take any suggestions or questions from the audience?
Sir, can you put the feedback and suggestions come in later? Because I'm sorry, I see a lot of raised hands, but the panel members will be present. Or 2 questions.
Yeah, at least, yes.
Okay, I see a very enthusiastic young man in white shirt, so we'll take that, and ma'am will take one of your questions.
Hello everyone. My question is to Mr. Taha over there. So sir, I think you're on the phone, so I'll just wait for 1 second. Because he's busy. Yes, sir. Okay. So hello sir, hope you're well. So Mr. Taha Hazir, thank you for organizing this Purple Fest. I'm really happy to be here. This is first of a kind, unique festival where you're talking about employment of persons with disability and inclusion of persons with disability. So I think something has happened in the special educators in RPWD. They say that you must encourage teachers with disability, but what happens with teachers who are deaf? Mostly they are not given any reservation in the job. I'm from Haryana. I work in the 8 centers of Haryana. We have a lot of teachers who have done D.Ed and B.Ed, but when it comes to government post and jobs for the deaf, it's never given an opportunity. Even after the law is there, they are discriminated and not given that job. So if suppose we have creative solutions to creating teachers who are deaf and disabled, it would create inclusion, employment and quality education at the same time, because it's all linked. If you miss one of the factors, all the others would also suffer. So my question is actually a suggestion. What do you feel about it? So, and thank you for organizing this again.
It is a wonderful suggestion, and I will tell you, as I said earlier also, somewhere we are going ahead, and Percy right away, which she pointed out, before January 2021, the recognized, the identified posts for persons with disabilities. If I'm not wrong, a professor post for hearing impairment is not available, right? But the state government has a complete authority to customize the whole list. It is not the central government has said as we have to do it. I will request here, this could be actually taken ahead. If there could be a written representation of the persons with hearing impairment, probably we could connect and we could take it ahead. Absolutely. Right? Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. That would be a very positive start for this.
Just one more question, please. The man in the second row. That's the last question.
Yeah, I have a question. Normally, there's a notion that people with the challenges, they're not productive. So what do you think about, when you have so much of workforce in PNB, what's your thought about their productivity vis-a-vis the so-called unable people? What is your
ma'am, that question is to me, I am assuming.
Yes.
What I would say is, there are two sides of a coin, always. And whatever we have been discussing here is one side of the coin, whereas in terms of legal and legal enablements, and in terms of the employer, what enablements employers can give. The other side of the coin is, as individual success stories we have talked, Dr. Ashwini here, my colleague here, whose video. So the point which I am coming to is, the other side of the coin, each of the person of disability is an ambassador. And when people look at Dr. Ashwini Agarwal and look at him as a role model in terms of, with his particular disability, how he overcome that disability and reached the success that he has. He started as a clerk in a bank and reached to the position of assistant general manager, which is a very senior position. So the point is, he becomes an ambassador for persons with disabilities, and simultaneously the side of the coin is, there are certain individuals who are not working with the same level of positivity. And certain individuals with disabilities not working with the same level of positivity become a negative ambassador for persons with disabilities. And that's one important point which I'd like to highlight here, bring it on the table, that each person with disability should very clearly see himself, herself as an ambassador, and when they really work hard, compete, become successful, they are actually opening the doors and windows for other persons with disabilities. They are giving a confidence to the employer that yes, the persons with disabilities are equally or maybe more capable than the so-called able persons. And that's a very important aspect in one of the points that Mr. Shiva was saying, what next? I strongly believe what next is a part of sensitization of the society, both in terms of so-called able people and also persons with disabilities. Thank you.
I'm Maya. I represent my son with autism, 27 years old. Our struggle has been from scratch to a degree in Bachelor's of Computer Application from Goa University, and I'm looking forward to a job for him. He's also an artist. He's got his exhibition down there. The thing is, as Percy has rightly said, as soon as he finished, he called up Percy and he said, I want to be in your department, in your office. And he has been working with them initially as an intern, and then they took him in. But during COVID, the job was risked. So there was insecurity, and with people with autism, there is a severe anxiety and all sorts of issues go on with it. It included all medical conditions that were happening at home also. It took us a lot of stress to overcome all that. And besides this, my child has been a paving path for many children who have now been doing BCA, because the path has been laid for BCA, for everyone who's getting diagnosed with autism and finding their child can do something in education are going to BCA, because teachers are telling them, so and so has done BCA. So there is threatening for his job facility here, because I'm looking at government job, because one is he's done a milestone job in his career till here, and the government should recognize him. For that, there should be, as Percy and our moderator has rightly said, there should be customization of recruiting and creating a post for him. So can I take a promise from the government of Goa, after working from my side and always been supportive to you towards the development of persons with autism in Goa as a single parent, not representing any group. So how do I go about it? This question goes to Taha.
Again, immediately after the fest, we meet.